All right, how are we doing today? Great, excellent, good, kind of good, sort of good, really good, super good. That's what I tell my kids when they wake up in the morning. I say, how do you sleep? Kind of good, sort of good, really good, or super good. Given that many positive options, there's really no chance to choose something negative, which kind of goes hand in hand with sales. I'd like to welcome you to the 7 secret weapons of fitness professional sales success. I'm extremely excited to be here, very excited to be here, because I started out, my first teaching gig was teaching the NASM course. I taught the NASM course for several years, and there's just something special about training and teaching personal trainers, because I believe that the personal training profession is a truly inspiring profession, that it's a noble profession, that we change lives every day, and I mean that sincerely. One of the best things about teaching the NASM was to see my students succeed in the industry, both on their own and with the big box gyms. About a year after a particular class, it was a semester-long course that I taught, one of my students sent me an email, and it contained a picture of him sitting at a desk, kind of like this. It was a nice desk, though. And he said, "Thank you for everything you did. Thanks to your instruction, I was able to open up my own PT studio." So that really touched my heart. That, to me, was what made it worth it, teaching till 9:30, 10 at night. I thought that the best way to empower the world through fitness was to further my education and learn as much about physiology as I possibly could, which I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, being at NSCA. So I enrolled in a master's PhD program in Nebraska. You notice in the intro he didn't say I was PhD, right? So I enrolled in this master PhD program, and about a year into the program, I was up in Nebraska. I'm from San Diego. I get an email from this same student, but the tone was a little bit different in this email. He tore into me and used me as a punching bag, basically, for his studio having failed. He said something to the extent of, how is it that we could spend a whole semester of instruction 3 days a week, and we only spend 1 lecture on business and sales? I didn't blame him for that. I didn't take it to heart. I felt like, you know what, he needed to get it out, and hey, I'm okay. As trainers, sometimes we're our clients' punching bags, right? I was okay with that. But it made me take a step back and look at what I wanted to accomplish, how I wanted to empower the world. And this was what ultimately led me to the decision of leaving my PhD program. I was a year into it. I told my professor that I would finish out the master's. If anybody know Dr. Terry Hausch? There's an award named after him at the NSCA, so he was my mentor and professor. And he was okay with it. He thought, you know what, if you want to go out and do your own thing, that's fine. And that's when I came to realize, when I made that decision, is when I came to realize that maybe it's not so much about learning as much physiology as I possibly could. Maybe it's about learning the business, the sales aspect of personal training. Because if I can empower you guys, if I can help the fitness professional, then it's limitless. If you guys go out and sell 1 more package because of this talk, that's amazing. So that's what I did. I left my master's program, came back to San Diego, and I took on a 2-year research project. Got a job at 24 Hour Fitness as a fitness manager. Started waking up at 4 in the morning, read 60 books over the course of 2 years. And books on sales, fitness. I was making up for the lack of education in business. And the cool thing about this job as a fitness manager was that I got to try out these new tactics and strategies, not only myself with potential clients, but also on new recruits, on new trainers. And I got to see which ones worked and which ones didn't. And that, to me, was what made this powerful. And that's where this talk stems from. Is I basically took 200 or more tactics and strategies and sifted them down to get the 7 strategies that we'll be talking about today. So welcome. My mission with this presentation is to empower the fitness professional through sales mastery, thus enhancing his or her ability to change more lives through fitness. I changed my mission like 5 times, and if you have the handout, I apologize, I did change it, but if you give me your email, I'll send you the newer version, okay? I did update it. But that is very important to me because I went through so many iterations, and this means a lot. Empower the fitness professional through sales mastery. Because a lot of times we come to these conferences thinking, I want to learn the newest kettlebell techniques. Or, not that that's bad. Or I want to learn what creates hypertrophy. But very rarely do we come to a conference and say, I want to learn about business, I want to learn about sales, unless you own your own studio. And that's what I hope to do. So I want to start out, can I get everyone's commitment? And you can, a nod will suffice. But I'm really good at looking at absolutely everyone. So can I get everyone's commitment that we're going to play full out today? I know it's the last session, well, second to last session of the entire conference. We're probably somewhat tired, right? But I need your participation, because if you want to get as much out of this as I hope, I need you to actually play full out. So we're going to do a kinesthetic progression exercise. I made that up. I don't know if it really exists, but I think it's pretty cool. What I want everyone to do is I want you to take your right foot, and I want you when I say, okay, I'm going to give you the go, I want you to tap it 5 times. So dorsiflex and plantar flex, because we're trainers, I can say that, right? When I say go, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are you ready? Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I want you to do it with the other foot. And I have cameras under, no, that would be weird. I don't have cameras under there. But I hope everyone is, look at your neighbor. Make sure they're doing it, okay? Because this is important. So I want you to take the other foot and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. Now, does everyone know how to snap? All right. With your right hand, we're going to do 3 snaps on my go. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Now we're going to do the same with the left hand. A little bit more difficult. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Guys, come on. What's going on? We know how to snap? Let's do it. Let's engage. Let's play full out. Let's do that again. Left hand. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. All right. I want you to take your hands. Pretend we're presenting an award. The drums are out. Speakers are out. So we have to do the drum roll. Okay? I want to do the drum roll, patting your thighs. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Everybody participating, even if you're writing. Go, go, go. And relax. Very good. That's like training, huh? And relax. Now I want everybody to stand up. Stand up for me. I know, you probably just worked out. But we're trainers. We don't like to sit for a long time. That's why I got to do this with you guys. Make sure you engage, right? Now, I want everyone, when I say, are you ready to play full out, I want you to whisper, yes. Okay, I want you to whisper yes, all right? Are you ready to play full out? Now I want you to say it with your normal voice. Are you ready to play full out? Yes. Very good. I'm looking for those non-participators. Now I want to do it a little bit louder, kind of like you're in a bar and the music's playing a little bit loud. You're not yelling, but just a little bit louder. You're trying to talk to a buddy. Are you ready to play full out? Yes. Very good. All right, now I want the room next to us to wonder what the heck is going on in there, because we're not doing exercise. Why are they yelling? So I want you to do it as loud as you can. Not like a banshee, but just like a powerful, loud, enthusiastic yes. Okay? Are you ready to play full out? Yes! One more time. Are you ready to play full out? Yes! Awesome. Woo! You guys gave me chills. Go ahead and sit down. Give yourselves a hand. Wow. Man, I've done that before at different conferences. I've never had... See, that's the beauty of trainers. That's the beauty. I just love personal trainers. I do. All right. The Empower Sales Formula. This is what will be based off of, or what the entire lecture will be based off of. We're going to go through each progression. I've already explained to you how it originated. Okay? It's a little bit different than in your booklet, because I've gone through iterations, right? But I promise you, someone told me something had to be like 5 years ago. And they said, if you can go to a conference, a talk, a class, read a book, listen to a book, and look for just that one thing that'll change the way you think, feel, act, then it's worth it. So I want you to look for that one thing, okay? We're going to go over a lot of stuff. And we're going to take it a little bit differently. We're going to look at it differently because I looked at what was available as far as sales is concerned for trainers. I found a lot of tactics and strategies, and not that that's bad, but after having trained so many trainers in the past, I understand that it's not necessarily because they're lacking in tactic. Maybe the new trainers, where it really boils down, what makes the difference is the psychology, the reframe the brain, the emotion. That's the thing that's going to differentiate this. And that's why I need you to play full out. Okay? I'm not going to talk about each one because I usually go over on my presentation, so I'm hoping not to go over. I got good content though. All right. We're going to start off with reframe the brain. Reframe the brain. This has 3 steps. Step 1 will be visualize. Step 2, realize. And step 3, revitalize. It took a lot of time to think of that, I'll tell you what. It came to me in the sauna, actually. All right. Reframe the brain. This is important. I know we're kinesthetic. We're physical people. We like to lift weights. NSCA. I love the NSCA. But I'm going to require you just a little bit. That's why I let you kind of get it out in the beginning, to get in touch with your emotions, your emotional side. Give you permission. Give yourself permission. Because that's the only way we can actually reframe the brain and fall in love with sales. Because right now, most of us probably aren't. Visualize. This is step 1. If you'd like, you can close your eyes. If you've done meditation before, I'd like to do that just to prepare. I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose. And I want you to let your air out as well as relax your muscles as much as you can. Let's do 3 of those breaths. I want you to take a deep breath in. Let it out through your mouth and relax the muscles. Let's do one more. Take a deep breath in. Out and relax the muscles. Clear your mind. What I want you to do is I want you to visualize and I want you to picture the people whose lives you have changed as a fitness professional. I want you to actually see them. I want you to take 2 to 3, maybe 4 of those clients who really saw a change, who truly were inspired. And we're typically, as trainers, we give them the credit. But I give you permission to take a little bit of credit for this. I want you to look at each person. And I want you to place them up here on the stage with me. Okay, so you got person number 1. You can stand them on the table if you want. It's kind of person number 2, person number 3. I want you to put them right here. And I want you to look at their faces. Imagine their faces at that apex when they reach their goal. There's nothing like that, is there? There's nothing like seeing someone's face realize for the first time in years that they are back to their high school weight after losing 60 pounds. There's nothing like it. That's the face that I want you to imagine. I don't care if they're sports performance, bodybuilding, weight loss, whatever it is. 1, 2, 3. For our new trainers in the room, I'm going to give you a couple examples so that you can play with us, okay? I have a client. He's my trainer. Not really. He's 66 years old. Later in life, he developed a passion for cycling. And he made it a goal to qualify for and compete in the Senior Olympics. Pretty cool. He'd never cycled before, right? After a ton of races, he actually made it to that final qualification round. And he wrote his heart out. He wasn't my client at the time, but he wrote his heart out. He thought he did very well. Due to technology in the Senior Olympic Games, he had to wait about 2 to 3 weeks to figure out whether or not he qualified. So that was kind of gut-wrenching just waiting, right? About a week after this race, he woke up and found it a little bit difficult to move his arm. Just a little bit. But as the day progressed, it became more and more difficult. And then he started to notice his gait changed just a little bit. His wife got home and immediately thought, maybe he's having a stroke. So she rushed him to the hospital. That's the only point that he remembers. He basically was out after this. He woke up in a hospital room with his wife at his bedside. And he looks at her and he says, "What happened?" And with a trembling voice, she says, "You had a stroke, dear." Not thinking much of it, or knowing the severity or the extent of the stroke, he tried to get up. And he realized that he couldn't move anything on his right side. He couldn't move his arm, he couldn't move his legs, or his leg. This was devastating for him. And to know and to think that just a week and a half to 2 weeks earlier, he was competing for the Senior Olympic Games. He made it to the final time trial. I mean, imagine how devastating this would be. About a week later, he was admitted to inpatient rehab. His wife brought to the rehab facility the letter that they'd been waiting for. Of course, he didn't anticipate these circumstances. He opened the letter and caught the glance of the word "congratulations." He knew from that point that he had qualified. He was cleared to play in the Olympic Games. Knowing that he qualified, but that he couldn't do it, filled him with every emotion imaginable. You can imagine, he's happy that he made it, but he's sad that he can't go. He's elated. He's depressed at the same time. Well, he got to a point after a couple more weeks that the physical therapists weren't pushing him hard enough. That's when he came to me. When I first met him, he had a walker and could barely walk. His gait was like six inches with his wife at his side. They sat down and I gave them a presentation. They asked about training. And I showed them the best option, which was something like 25 sessions, $14.99 at the time. He was a little bit reluctant. He said he wanted to think about it. And I implored him. I said, "Look, I truly want to be here for you. I want to help you with this. I need you to want it too, and that takes investment." And looking at his wife after a little bit more talking, he actually decided, let's do it. So we started training together. I have another client who, this was a 28-year-old man, morbidly obese, 5'5". When he first walked into the gym from his car, and we're talking no longer than maybe 60 feet, he was panting and sweating. That's how out of shape this person was. We did the free session, the complimentary session, and I gave him a good workout. We had some fun, some laughs. I explained the program. I said, "Look, I'm going to be here for you. We can do this together. Let's get started." And he told me, we all dread this part, "Well, I just bought a car yesterday, so I'm not looking to invest anything else. I mean, I'm pretty tight on finances." I said, "Okay, well, I really want to do this with you, and I hope that you'll change your mind." Of course, this was years ago before I started studying all this sales. He left. And what do we know about people that walk out the door if we've trained for a little while? Are the chances of them coming back pretty good? No, they're not very good. Well, I'm packing up for the evening, and it's about a half hour later. He comes back in, he slams the door open, and he's got this glaze in his eyes, almost like he's looking at something. I think it was the goal that we put forth, right? He's just looking at something, like he just walks into the door. He goes up to my desk, he slams down his credit card, and he says, "Let's do this." That was a good feeling. Now, both of these people are examples of people that were reluctant to sign up for training. Victor, we worked together 3 days a week for several months. And he progressed from a walker to a cane to no cane to a little bit of a shuffle to a bigger gait. And he told me secretly about a month before the competition, "Hey, don't tell my wife, but I actually want to compete in the scene. I still want to do it." I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this wife's going to kill me. I said, "Okay, let's do it. Let's train." Well, I'm happy to report that Victor actually crossed the finish line. He made the trip, and after suffering a severe stroke, he was able to cross that finish line. He was able to do that race. Imagine his face, that apex, that face of satisfaction, of joy that he had when he was able to do that. That's priceless. Is that worth $1,500? Oh, I think a little bit more. Dan, my other client, we worked together for over a year. He lost over 100 pounds. He became a different person completely. He was into drugs. He was in a bad relationship. He had a bad job. He stopped the drugs. He lost the 100 pounds. He moved to Florida, found a new significant other, found a new career that he fell in love with. And on top of that, this guy that couldn't even walk from his car to my office without sweating had the goal of running a marathon in every state. And he's done 6 so far. A marathon in every state. That's powerful. That's what we do as fitness professionals. I want you to embrace that. So I've got your 3 people. 1, 2, 3. I've got Victor, the cyclist, and I've got Dan. 2 more scenarios that I want to give you. Is it safe to say that we know that people who engage in physical activity on a regular basis and practice good nutritional habits live longer? Yeah, correlation, not cause and effect. But we know in general that people live longer if they do physical, especially if they were sedentary and morbidly obese before. Am I right? Yeah? All right. So, if we have a client and we have this inkling, we kind of know deep down that after they lost over 100 pounds, we might have extended their lives 1, 2, 3 years. We would never know. But we kind of feel it in our hearts, right? There's no way that they would live that long if they stayed in that lifestyle, right? What would happen if that person during those 2 or 3 more years that they were able to live witnessed the birth of their grandchildren? I know it's hypothetical, but I want you to actually picture this because I guarantee you it happens. I want you to picture a grandpa or grandma looking person up here holding that baby for the first time with that face of joy and satisfaction. What's that worth? That's priceless. The last one. Anybody here have kids? Do you play with your kids on the playground, or did you when they were little? That's something that, in my mind, is one of the best things you could do. To be a little kid again, to go in the playground and engage with your kids. There are some people that can't do that, and it breaks my heart. There are some people that are too big, that are too out of shape, and they have to watch from the sidelines. They can't play with their, they can't play, I get all emotional, with their kids. What is it like for that parent and for that kid, that child? What if we train someone, and this actually happened to one of my clients, they lost the weight, they gained the confidence, and they were able to play with their children for the first time on the playground? What if we were able to do that? What's that worth? That's priceless. It's literally priceless. And now I want you to place that person up here with their kid at their side, with that face of joy. Okay, so we have our people up here. I want you to, for a second, if you want to close your eyes, you can. It'll just take like 5 seconds. I want you to bask in the beauty of what this means, of what we do as fitness professionals. I want you to visualize the joy, the utter satisfaction, the life change in each person's face. Do you see it? Do you see what we can do as fitness professionals? Do you feel like kind of a little warm feeling? I know it's kind of weird to get in touch with your emotions, right? But do you feel like a bit of a warm feeling? That's a great feeling. Now, we have everybody standing up here, and I want you to I want you to visualize walking up to each person and stealing away what you gave them. I want you to literally take it from them. I want you to go up to your 3 people and I want you to steal away what they were able to accomplish, the goals that they were able to meet. I want you to walk up to my client Victor and I want you to take away his Olympic medal and say, sorry, buddy, you got to go back to the walker. I want you to go up to my client Dan and I want you to take away everything that he got. I want you got to put those 100 pounds back on, give up those medals from the marathons. Sorry, buddy, you got to give it up. I want you to go up to that parent who was able to play with their child for the first time on the playground, and I want you to take that away from them. Literally, take it away. Look them in the eye and say, I'm sorry, you can't have this. Is that powerful? Absolutely. I want you to go up to that grandparent who's holding that child for the first time. And I want you to snatch that baby away. It's emotional, it's powerful, but I want you to take that baby away and say, I'm sorry. You can't do it. This is what we do every time we don't sell as hard as we can. Every time we let somebody walk by us in the gym and we don't try to get them to train with us, this is what we do. Every time we answer a phone call and we don't try our hardest to book an appointment with that person, this is what we do. We steal from them what they otherwise could have had. We have this habit as trainers. We get into this profession not for the money, am I right? We get into this profession because we love fitness. We love empowering and inspiring people. So we have this great deal of empathy. That's a great thing. But that also leads to you feeling like, I don't want to be pushy on this person. I don't want to be pushy. Rather than thinking, I don't want to be pushy, from now on, I want you to think, I don't want to steal from that person what they could have. I don't want to steal from this person. You might feel a little uncomfortable, but what are those things worth? If you get rejected, you get rejected. We'll talk about that in a second. But those clients, those 2 clients I chose specifically because both of them were reluctant to sign up. Had I allowed that, had I said, okay, that's understandable, why don't you give me a call? What if they didn't actually accomplish those things? What if that didn't happen? They would no longer have the joy and the happiness and the satisfaction that they had. This is step 1 in the reframe process. We have to change the way we feel about sales. No longer can we feel that we're pushing the sale on somebody. We have to understand that, no, we're not pushing the sale on them. We're empowering them. Even if they say no, they don't understand it yet. They don't understand what I could do for them. It doesn't matter if they're fit. They could be training for the USA, a bodybuilding competition. What if we were able to help them place one more position up? What if they already look GQ and good, right? We were able to help them gain just that little bit of confidence to fit in their suit really nicely and get that promotion at work and find their significant other. You never know. Scientists hate this because you can't actually prove it with data. But it's true. I challenge you, if you take one thing from this, to change the way you view sales and being pushy on people. This is extremely powerful. I have had people double their sales efforts just by doing this one thing, because their mindset totally changes. If your mind is there, it doesn't matter what tactics you have, because you're going to be passionate. Even if it's not eloquent, right? It's not pretty. You're still going to be passionate about it. And passion sells. There's only a little bit of emotion, okay? So bear with me, guys. Step 2, realize. Step 2, we have to realize, each person in here has to come to the realization that you are good at sales. You are good at sales. Just because there's a transaction involved, we tend to get a little bit frightened or reluctant. Have you ever told your buddy, your friends, to go to a particular movie? Have you ever said, hey, let's go see this movie? Have you ever sold your friend's spouse, significant other, whoever, on a restaurant? Oh, we got to try this restaurant. It's awesome. You're influencing them. Why is it any different with a sale? Why do we get nervous when it comes to talking about money? Well, if we understand that these things are priceless, we'll have a okay time. We'll do better with it, right? But we have to each realize, each one of us has to come to that realization. I know I'm being redundant, but it's on purpose, that you are good at sales. I want a little nod from everyone, just like, hey, you know what? I am good at sales. I thought I wasn't good at sales for some reason, but I am good at sales. You are good at sales. I know it. You're good at sales. That's step 2, to realize that you are good at sales. Step 3, revitalize. Now, for some reason, when we think of sales, all of a sudden I say the word sales, for example, if we did like a mind cleansing exercise and then I bust out the word sales, what do people usually say? In my seminars where I have a little bit longer time, I do that exercise. People say things like they were feeling slimy, used car salesman, taking advantage of, manipulating. Why do we have those feelings when it comes to sales? Why? Why? Anybody? Gym salesman? Bottom line is, we've probably been taken advantage of in the past. Am I right? Somebody probably was successful in manipulating us to buy something. And that's the thing that sticks out in our minds when it comes to sales. You just have this bad feeling, like that mattress salesman, I don't know. He got you to buy that Tempur-Pedic and you didn't really want it, but you bought it. So what I want you to do to revitalize that thought, those feelings that come to light when you think of sales, is I want you to think of 3 things that you've purchased that made you excited. Because sales, if we buy something that helps us, that empowers us, it's a beautiful thing. I don't care if you were sold on Amazon, if a person didn't sell you. What about this conference? You were sold on this conference. Do you regret that? No way. NSCA is the best. My best conferences, I've been to all of them, are at the NSCA. Think of 3 things. I'm serious. Think of 3 things. Write them down if you can, that you purchased that you feel good about. Yeah. You walked away from that purchase thinking, all right, maybe a new car you got a good deal on? I don't know. But everybody's bought stuff. And I guarantee you that the stuff we buy that we feel good about outweighs the stuff we bought that we got manipulated on. It's just that we think of those negative instances. That's step 3, to revitalize what we feel about sales. So I want you to take those negative feelings and I want you to replace them with positive feelings. You were sold on this conference. And hopefully you got a good education, made some good contacts at this conference. You had a good time. That's a positive sale. Am I right? 3 things. Write them down if you can, because you're going to have to remind yourself. All right, step 2 in the Empower model. We went through the reframe. I got to figure out this laser pointer. We went through the reframe. Now we're in the second part, which is empathize. Now on the side of the model, you can see that I've split it up into emotion and logic. So those of you who don't like getting all emotional, don't worry, it's almost over. It's funny though, because the biggest and buffest dudes tend to be the ones that shed a tear. It's nice. All right, empathize. Empathize is the next step. What does empathize mean? Yeah, why do I have a boot up there? It's kind of weird, but hey, because you're walking in their shoes, right? Empathize, you're feeling what they're feeling. So, 3 steps: experience, conviction, and testimony. Let's go to the first one. What do the best athletes in the world have in common? What do the best athletes in the world have in common? Good genetics, very good. Discipline, what else? Throw it out there. We're coaches and trainers.
Grit.
Huh?
Grit.
Grit. Good ratio of type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers, right? Goals. Do most of them have someone that's in charge of their fitness routine? Most of them have trainers or coaches overseeing their fitness routines. Would anyone disagree with that? Most of the best people in the world, in any sport, have someone looking over their routine, even if they don't have a personal trainer. So I have a question for you. What makes us different than the best athletes in the world? If you haven't trained with a trainer yet, if you don't have a trainer, well, I'm a personal trainer, I have a certification, right? I don't need to have a trainer. I would beg to differ. If you haven't trained with someone, you're limiting your potential, because nothing speaks louder than experience. Am I right? So it doesn't matter if you have your PhD, your master's degree, 10 certifications. There's something that trainer will do during your session that you weren't able to do. They'll look at you just at a different angle. They'll notice that you had an anterior pelvic tilt during your squat. They'll notice something and they'll help you in some way, shape, or form. So my challenge to you, I have a couple challenges in this, is to set a date for getting trained by another trainer. I want you to set a date. If you haven't done so yet, take this seriously, because your presentation of training will completely change. Some of the best salespeople I've ever met were people that had trainers and they lost a lot of weight with that trainer. Why is that? Because they experienced it, right? So that's my challenge to you. Set a date. Do something. Pick one thing in this lecture to do. Could be this thing. I'll send you the slides after. So if you experience something, what does that do? Oops. If you experience something, what does that do? It leads to conviction. So let's give an example. You see a preview for a movie or an ad for a restaurant, and you're talking to your friends. You're like, oh man, this preview looked awesome. We got to go see it. I heard the reviews, 2 thumbs up. Let's go see it. All right, so that's number one. Number two is you actually went and saw the movie. I saw this movie and it was the best. Trust me. We got to go see it. I'll even see it again. I don't even see movies twice, but I'll see it again. That's how good it was. Which one's more powerful? Don't say the first. The second one. Why? Because we experienced it. There's something different when we say, I believe in personal training, my clients have seen success, versus I know personal training works because I even have a personal trainer. Of course, maybe you train with them once every 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever, but you know what it's like. They're able to see things that you can't see and push you a little bit more. I don't care how good you are at pushing yourself, another trainer will push you a little bit more. And those are testimonies that you can only get through experience. Anybody disagree with that? Okay. So, we have the experience, which creates conviction, which leads to testimony. Do we know what testimony is? Testimony is me standing up here and saying, I believe in you as a personal trainer. I believe that what we do changes the world. I truly know and feel that in my heart. Would you say that that's powerful? Yes. Testimony is super powerful when you're talking to your potential clients. This is why it's important that you actually do a session with a trainer. Nothing will help you more than being able to say, oh yeah, even I have a trainer. And then some people, they might look at you like, oh, you have a trainer? You say, oh yeah, you'd be amazed at what they can do for you, even if you have a certification, even if you have a degree. All of a sudden, you're still the expert, but they realize, wait a second, this is beyond what I thought. Even the trainer has a trainer. That's a big deal. So that's empathize. Next, we have the why. Has anybody read Simon Sinek? Start with why. If you haven't read that, you can save yourself a little bit of time. There's a TED talk that he did. It's like 15 minutes, and he goes through it. You can Google him, Simon Sinek. But the book is very good. And basically what he talks about is the best companies in the world, they don't start with what they do or how they do it. They start with why they do something. An example is computers. I don't know much about computers, so forgive me if I use the wrong terminology. So let's say Dell is selling their computer and they say, we are the only computer with an Intel Pentium 2 processor and we have a 45-inch LCD XT screen. That's pretty amazing. What are they leading with? What? They're leading with what they have, what they do. Right? Does everybody see that? So that's kind of cool, but really, does it do something really different than other computers? I mean, if you're totally into computers, you might notice it, but otherwise, I mean, I'm going to make PowerPoint presentations and surf the web a bit. Not going to make a big difference. What did Apple do? Apple started with a vision. They started with their why. They visualized a computer in every home. And they visualized the fact that the personal computer could allow the little guy to take on big corporations. That's the power of iMac, iPhone. You are the individual. You can now take on the world. That's more powerful. And there are other examples of companies that did that. But I read this book and I thought, well, why don't I try forming my why and putting this into my sales presentations? FYI, when I first started the talk and I talked to you about my student who told me that I was the reason his business closed, that was my why. That's why I do what I do. Because I feel so strongly that if I can improve your ability to sell and to run your business, then you will be able to empower more people through fitness. Would you say that that was a little bit more powerful than leading off with, let's say, I don't know, a flow chart? Because we got into the emotion right off the bat. You saw my passion. Am I right? Were you more likely to listen a little bit? Yeah. So what I want to do is, and each of you, I do have this 5-video sales course on my website that you guys will all get for free if you email me. But, and it goes into how to develop your why specifically. But I want you to think of why it is that you're here. Why it is that you care. I want you to think of it. Why it is that you became a trainer and you wanted to empower lives. Think for just a second, why? Now I'm going to challenge you. When is the time that we grow the most in our lives? When we get a little uncomfortable. I used to have on my whiteboard, get uncomfortable every day. So I'm going to make you a little bit uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I want you to partner up with somebody you don't know. Dun, dun, dun. Somebody you don't know. I know we're going to engage a little bit. I'm sorry. So I want you to look around the room. You have permission. And I want you to actually find somebody that you might have said hi to, but I want you to actually find somebody. Get up, sit next to them. Let's do it. Roundabout, roundabout. And I want you to take 1 minute each, and share your why. I'll tell you when to change. It could be simple, it could be complex, but I'll tell you when to change. Okay, this is important. Share why you became a trainer. Why you became a trainer. All right, if you haven't changed, go ahead and change now. Switch the person that's telling the story, if you can. I know you get passionate. Let's wrap it up. 10 seconds. Wrap it up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's top it off and sit back down. You can stay seated there if you want. I'm just going to keep talking because usually it takes a long time for people to calm down on this exercise. They get passionate, you know. All right. Great job. Let's wrap it up. You can keep telling your why afterward if you want. You know what I love about this exercise? I love the fact that everybody always looks at me with like distaste when I say it. They're like, oh gosh, she's going to make us do that. And then when I try to wrap it up, it always takes like 10 minutes to get everybody to stop. That's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing. All right. Let me ask you a question. On the side of sharing your why, how did it make you feel when you got in touch with your why? How did it make you feel when you were telling your why? What were you feeling? Anybody? What was it? Good, happy. Anything else? Excited? Reminiscent? Passionate? How did it feel on the receiving end, hearing that other person's why? How did that feel? Motivated. What else? Anybody else? How did you feel when you were hearing that other person say their why?
I agree.
You agreed. It's cool because we all share the same purpose, right? Similar purpose. Hearing that person's why, would it be safe to say that it inspired us? That it triggered an emotional chord? That it created a connection? No matter where we go, we have a wall up. Most of us have a wall up, right? You probably had your wall up when you came into this session. You might have had your wall up when you were looking for someone that you didn't know. But what did that do to your wall? It tore it down. You are now receptive to that person's message. You understood what they felt. This is the power that why holds. When I read this, I inserted it into my sales pitch, like a 30-second version of my why. And at first I felt a little bit goofy getting into it. But every time I did it, the person opened up. We were laughing, having a good session. The sale went easier. That's the power of why, of starting with why. So, now that you have an idea of your why, and you can always develop it a little bit more to the last 30 seconds or so, develop that story. My next challenge to you would be to insert that into every presentation you do. Every sales presentation. Get into why you do what you do. It could be quick. Look, my name's Rob Lewis. I got into personal training because when I first started training, I helped somebody lose a lot of weight, and they ended up having a heart attack and passing away, and I felt like I have to do something to prevent the obesity epidemic. That really was my personal training why. If you insert this into the beginning of your sales presentation within the first 15 minutes, I guarantee the person will be more receptive. Do you disagree? Try it. You'd be amazed. All right, we move our way up the framework. We are now, oh, look at that, organized framework. I didn't even mean to do that. So create an organized framework. What does this do? Has anybody in here fitness managers or managed trainers? Have a studio where you have, okay, I love this. It never fails. You get a new trainer and you want to go over with them some sales role play or skills. What do they say? Oh, almost every time they say, you know what? I do better when I'm in the moment. I like to wing it. I think that's when things go smoothly. Every time, am I right? I don't know, maybe it's just me in San Diego. But every time they would say this. It only took 10 times of them messing up with a potential client for me to realize I'd rather them mess up with me than on a potential client, because that's a life we could change. Right? What does creating an organized framework do for the fitness professional? For both the veterans and the new trainers. It helps, it's like our periodization of the sales process. We love to periodize. We're NSCA, right? Well, we know that in 6 weeks, the next phase is coming. If we organize a framework, we know that after 5 minutes, we go do cardio. After we do, I'm making it up. After we do cardio, we get on the weights, we tell a couple jokes, we're friends with them, create a sequence of events that we can follow. It sounds super simple, but it will make such a difference in your sales presentation. It's goal-oriented selling. You're working towards something, not just kind of shooting for the yes, for the why. Okay? And we're going to get into it. And then so it has 2 sections. You have path to follow. It creates a path to follow, which we talked about, and it allows you to sectionize, or I should have put periodize, the sale. Let me ask you a question. Does everybody know who Jordan Belfort is? If you don't, this is the actor that played Jordan Belfort, Leonardo DiCaprio. Has everybody seen The Wolf of Wall Street? What is Jordan Belfort known for other than the bad stuff? Being a great salesman. He is said to be one of the greatest salesmen in the world. Right? So, do you think that Jordan Belfort, being one of the greatest salesmen in the world, would use a script on a phone call, on a sales phone call? Are you kidding me? Do you think he'd use a script? I didn't think so, but he does. He uses a script every time. Even if he has the words memorized, the tonality memorized, because it helps him proceed through the sales process. If you're in person with someone, obviously you can't do that, right? But I just want this to hit home that the greatest salesman in the world, in the opinion of some people, still uses a framework and a script. I try and live by this motto of the day we think we know everything is the day we become obsolete. I found this a lot in sales. In consulting with various health clubs, a lot of the veteran trainers or sales counselors, they'll say, I already know that stuff. But if I sit in the sales room for a little while and I observe what they're doing in the sale, they might know that stuff, but they're definitely not practicing it. So let's swallow our pride, realize that, hey, maybe this might help us, creating a framework and a script. And the framework we're just going to touch on today, I do go more in depth in the other courses. So path to follow. This is an example of a path or framework that I created for my trainers, okay? There's something kind of special about this. I want you to look at it. We have the introduction, number 1, the assessment, number 2, the workout, number 3, the challenge, number 4, the solution, 5, the close. Wait a second. Why didn't it stop at the close? What the heck? Is that a typo? Why didn't it end there? Isn't that where most sales presentations end? It didn't stop at the close because I've trained my trainers to expect and anticipate the no. Even though we're always trying to avoid the no, we want to avoid it, right? But if you expect the no and you know exactly how to respond to that no eloquently, what happens? Boom, we're no longer afraid of that no, right? We now control our epinephrine, norepinephrine response. Cortisol levels don't skyrocket quite as much. We don't get as red. And the client always feels that. So that's an example of the path to follow. This particular framework is used, and I'm a big fan of giving someone the opportunity to train with you for an hour or so. I know there are people that agree or disagree, but that to me is like the test drive of the car. You feel the engine rumbling, you know how fast it goes, you feel the comfort of the seats. That's what really makes you want to buy the car. If you can sell them without that, that's great, but I think chances go up to a great extent if you create a framework and you have them for about an hour. All right, so I've split it up a little bit. We're not going to go in depth into each category. Introduction, assessment, workout, challenge, solution. I've split it up into 3 things. We have the introduction, we have the body, and then we have the close. Introduction, body, and then the close. All right? Any questions so far? No? All right. What are the objectives of the introduction? 3 things. We want to establish authority, number 1. Number 2, we want to set expectations. And number 3, we want to share our why. Establish authority. How do we establish authority as fitness pros? The field is changing, but we still somewhat have to fight the Hans and Franz phenomenon. Right? Some people don't take us very serious. They think we just count reps. How do we establish authority? Give me some ideas. Knowledge. What else? Experience. Demonstration. Credentials. Very good. I like all that stuff, and that stuff is important. But when someone makes up their mind about you, is probably within the first 2 to 3 seconds. They're not going to see your credentials. They might when they're booking the session, right? And most people, I didn't even tell I had a master's degree because it didn't matter to them, right? So we always think, oh, it's going to be a better sale, but unless it really matters to them, it's not going to make a difference. So what can we do in the first 2 to 3 seconds when we see someone for the first time? Smile. Hey, how's it going? You know their name. You're well dressed. I know a lot of us have uniforms. We're in a gym. We don't have to wear a suit, right? But are our shoes scuffed up? Is our hair undone? And trainers, sometimes we work out, right? Right before a client. So guys, you work out and don't do your hair afterward, or girls, you put that bun thing on the top of your head. All the college girls were doing that in Nebraska. I'm not saying it's bad, but does it establish authority? No. It doesn't establish authority. So, number one is appearance. Make sure your appearance establishes authority. You smile, you know their name, you're ready with your clipboard. That will do more to establish authority than anything else. Next, set your expectations. When I walk the person back to the desk, I like to ask them before they sit down, so what were you looking at getting out of today? Something like that. Like in a nonchalant, so what were you looking at getting out of today? What were you hoping to achieve? They usually tell me everything from, I want a workout that I can repeat for the next 10 years. No joke. Or I want some new ideas. I really like fitness and I just got kind of bored with my workout. You say, okay, great. You sit down and this is where you take the authority back. This is good because it gives them an opportunity to say what they want, right? But then you take the ball back and you tell them what they're going to get. All right, great. Well, this is what, you don't say we're not going to do that. You say, well, this is the way we're going to do things. We're going to meet down here. We're going to, depending on your sequence, okay, sign the release of liability, make sure we're okay to go upstairs. Then we're going to go upstairs, we're going to do a little assessment. In the assessment, I'm going to be looking at posture and some other things that are going to tell us a lot about where you're at and how I can help you. We're going to get a little mini 20-minute workout in. If you can't create a huff and puff in 20 minutes, then see me. And then we're going to come back here to I don't say sales area, so I can sell you. No, then we're going to come back here to my desk and we're going to recap. I'm going to put everything back together for you. Why is that important?
Tell them what you did.
Yeah, they know what's coming up next. And some trainers, when they try and get into the sales process, they're reluctant about going back to the sales area. Because the person's like, all right, I'm done working out. And the trainer's like, oh, okay, see ya. They don't say anything. But if you tell them up front, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go upstairs and then be enthusiastic about it. We're going to come back here, and that's where the magic happens. I'm going to put everything together. We're going to talk about what we found in your assessment. Now they're looking forward to coming back down. Am I right? Very good. And share your why. So share your why. You can do it within the first 15 minutes while you're walking to the gym area or the weight area, whatever you want. But share your why within the first 15 minutes. Because what does it do? That wall that they have up, boom, breaks down. That's how we strike the emotional chord with them. We strike the emotional chord right off the bat. Their intellectual side is now open, and we are ready to play. Any questions on that? All right. Now we have the body. So we had the introduction, we have the body. The body, and we could get really in-depth here, okay, but I'm going over the general points that I want you to know. Number one, identify a novel problem. What does that mean? A novel problem. So solutions-based selling. What is solutions-based selling? Right? They have an issue. So you find out what that issue is through questions. Then you provide the solution. Right? That's solutions-based selling. So in challenger-based selling, instead of trying to figure out what their problem is, you still do that. You figure out what their problem is. But you also identify a problem that they didn't even realize existed. That's when we become the true authority. That's when we're like, the person, and it's crazy to see their face. Oh my gosh, I had no idea. And all of a sudden, we're like the trainer of the year to them. Because we showed them something they didn't even expect. But the important part is that we relate it back to their original goal. So if they want to fit into their wedding dress and they want to lose 20 pounds and that the problem in the past has been diet, that's their problem, right? So you say, now I can help you out with your diet. We can look at the different foods that you're eating. Also during the assessment, I did notice that you have an anterior pelvic tilt. And you said that you have a little bit of back pain once in a while. The last thing we want to do when we're getting ready for your wedding is to have back pain or get injured, because that's going to set you back. So we can correct that through some corrective exercise and keep going on our way to your goal. Boom. Immediately. There's, oh my gosh, that's crazy. You have to make sure that they're enthusiastic about it. But that truly works. Doesn't matter what it is, but identify something that they didn't realize they had. Build rapport. So this is, I like to do it when I'm up working out with them or during the assessment. The jokes. You have 4 or 5 jokes. Light-hearted jokes that anyone would laugh at. 65-year-old, 15-year-old, 25-year-old. Just light-hearted. It could be about the exercise. But the great thing is that when people are doing physical activity, their wall is down. You shared your why. But now what are we doing? We're making them smile. We're making them laugh. And they gain this sense of camaraderie with us. They like us, right? So that's very important. You don't have to be serious and authority the entire time. Crack some jokes, make them smile. The more they smile, the more they'll buy. Create the huff and puff. Oh, and the other thing, on building rapport is find uncommon commonalities. What does that mean? Uncommon commonalities are, let's say, a common commonality might be that we both own a Honda Civic, right? A lot of people own a Honda Civic. Uncommon commonality might be that person went to school in Nebraska and I went to school in Nebraska. What happens when we figure that out? Whoa, you went to Nebraska? No way, go Big Red. Like your wall is totally down. So during your workout, you want to try and find that spot. You want to try and identify that uncommon commonality. Oh my gosh, you listen to that same band? You went to that concert? Me too. You can get enthusiastic about it. And then create the huff and puff. The huff and puff, very simple. In the beginning, I like to ask them, what are 2 body parts that you feel you need to work on the most? They tell me the 2 body parts. Then you just put it in your pocket for later, right? During the workout, what do we work out? Those 2 body parts. Because if for some reason they don't buy at that moment, the next day they're going to be feeling those body parts. Ooh, my buns are sore, right? And they're thinking of us. So make sure that you work out what they have in mind, what they're excited about changing. And then you want to get their endorphins going by creating that huff and puff. So you want to do some sort of multi-set antagonistic training principle or just back and forth, something that'll get their heart moving, all right? For the close, we have a couple things. This is when we're back downstairs. What I like to do, a little tidbit, is, or did I say downstairs, because at the gym I worked at it was upstairs. But let's say we're walking back to the desk after the workout. I love this, and it totally works. As you're walking back, you say, so tell me, what did you like most about the workout? As you're walking, because what does that do? It sets them up for positivity. They now have to explain to you what they liked about the workout, what was great about it. That kind of sets the mood. So I'm only going to do the sample close script if we have time left over at the end. Do you know what time it is? We're in 10 minutes? Okay. So I'm going to move on, and if we have time left over, I'll go over this. But it is in the video course. Okay, so if you want a little bit more on that. But the main idea on the close, most trainers, if you ask them, where do you have a hard time with sales? And I ask them all the time. They usually say when it comes to the money. And the reason for that is they're not prepared with the right words to lead into that price and asking the sale. Okay, so that little part, based on everything we've just spoke about, it looks like this would be the perfect program for you. You don't show them 3 different packages and say, which one do you want? You say, this would be the perfect program for you. That you're an authority, right? Doctor usually doesn't give you an option of 5 different prescriptions, right? Sometimes. If they're a good doctor. I'm just kidding. All right, let's go over that. And believe me, if you do even half as well as the rest of my clients who've gone through this program, you're going to be very, very impressed. Sound fair enough? Boom. You know how many people I've sold on that? That's crazy. It's so like nonchalant. It's like, sound fair enough? And all of a sudden they pull out their credit card. Boom. You just take that nervousness out. And it works really well with new trainers if you give them the exact words to say. Empower Cyclone. This is the no. This is why I needed to move on, because if they say no or when they say no, first of all, we prepare for it. I created this whirlwind or this cyclone framework that allows us to prepare for the no. What's the biggest mistake we make when handling the rejection? Sales counselors are notorious for this, the gym membership sales. Accepting it, that's huge. What's another one? Trying to overcome the objection. That's huge. What happens if I tell you you're wrong? Even if deep down you kind of know you're wrong. If I say, no, you're wrong, that's not true. If you're really humble, you might accept it, but really, your blood's going to be boiling. Do we want their blood boiling? No. We don't want to tell them they're wrong. So they say, okay, let me think about it. What do? You deflect. So, this is what most new trainers do. They accept it. It breaks my heart every time I have to. And it's like being a parent and letting your kid fall down. You know, they're not going to get hurt, but, you know, you got to let them fall a little bit so they gain that confidence. Same thing with trainers. It's like they say, oh, they said they were going to call me tomorrow. You say, okay. And you just like bite your lip because you know that the chances are slim that they're going to call you tomorrow. That's what most new trainers do. A lot of us veteran trainers, we try and overcome the objection, but we know, where does that get us? Really nowhere. There are a couple cases where it works, but otherwise not really. What do we need to do? We need to deflect. We need to deflect. What is deflection? Kind of distracting. Like, all right, well, let me ask you this. I'll just tell you. First of all, before we get into that, how to phrase it, what do we know the first no is usually? What is the first no? It's a smoke screen. Come on. Tell me that you're in the mall walking around and someone tries to sell you something. Usually, what do? You say no thanks. I mean, did you really think about your finances and like what's going on? No, not really. It's just a smoke screen. So we have to assume that it's a smoke screen and prepare for it. This is so powerful for new trainers, and it was powerful for me. And I was in Rancho Bernardo, a community of very sophisticated retirees, ex-CEOs, and kind of intimidating crowd. And the first time I did this cyclone formula, I thought, there's no way it's going to work. And the person went from saying no to a $300 package to saying yes to a $1,500 package. It was crazy. Legit. It was like, oh my gosh, I just had to take a step back and say, what just went on? What happened? So, if we plan for the no, it allows us to save our best ammunition for later, right? So the good stuff, we can kind of hold on to it and save it. And it also allows us to control our emotion, like we talked about before. We don't get so red, right, when the person says no and upset. So what are the true reasons that someone is saying no? We can assume it's a smokescreen, but we can't do much with a smokescreen, so let's assume it's one of three things. They're either not sold 100% on you as a trainer, your program and whether or not it will actually work, or your business and its reputation. So what do? We deflect. Okay, we deflect here. That's the first close. We deflect. We resell. Okay, so we deflect, we resell, and then we close again. What do we resell? Those three things. Us, our business, and the service. So, client, I need to think about it. You don't say, I understand, because you don't understand. You can change their life, right? You say, I hear you. Well, let me ask you a question in a nonchalant tone. Let me ask you a question. Do you like the idea of this? Does the idea of training together make sense to you? I've never had somebody say no to that. They're going to agree. Say, do you like the idea of training together? They say, yeah. Exactly. Let me tell you something about this program. This program will be designed specifically for you. I'll be holding your hand every step of the way. If you encounter an issue in this program, we're going to figure it out together, selling the program. Let me tell you something. Oh, does that make sense? They say yes. Then you say, let me tell you something about this company. The CEO, Mark Smith, he happens to be, that's the CEO of 24, this was my old Prezo. He happens to be so involved and passionate about fitness that he actually makes everybody at corporate headquarters work out 5 times a week. And he does Group X every day. In addition, our company, we know that it's hard for you to make that decision, so we offer you a money-back guarantee. If you buy today and you say tomorrow that, hey, you know what, I don't think it's for me, go ahead and cancel it, no problem. And let me just reintroduce myself. This is kind of weird. It was kind of weird the first time I did this. Let me just reintroduce myself. My name's Rob Lewis, and I'm here because I'm truly passionate about changing people's lives. I know that we can get there together. So we resold 3 things. They might have only doubted one, but we resell all 3 of those, and then what do? We commit. So we say, all I ask is this one thing. Do this. Do this. Make the choice now to improve your life, and I assure you that the only issue you'll have is that we didn't get started a year ago. Boom. Sold. It's crazy how it happens. Try it out. It really does happen. You loop them and they say no, and you loop them and they say yes. All right, finally. We have 2 more that we'll bust through. Role play, self-practice, and postmortem. These are self-explanatory. but they're very important. We tend to, as veteran trainers, overlook these things. Role play means what? We practice it. We practice with another trainer, a manager, someone like that. As managers, it's important for the trainers to see us doing this and also see us doing it with them. Kind of make a fool of yourself every once in a while. It makes them feel better that you're not untouchable, that they can mess up with you. Self-practice. Practice your tonality and your delivery on your way to the gym, in the car. I used to take my voice recorder and just record myself to see how I sounded during the delivery, especially like the money part. And then post-mortem analysis. After each actual sale, have a notebook and write down what went well, what didn't, what was unexpected, and what did you learn to do next time. Is that reasonable? Does that sound fair? All right. So, can everybody commit to role-playing at least once a week? If you're in a gym or you're a trainer? I know it's scary, but again, when we grow the most is when we're uncomfortable. And it's better to mess up with our colleagues than with someone that we're training, right? So I really would implore you to try that at least once a week. Finally, endure. So endure, I'm getting used to this laser pointer. Explanatory style. Do we know what explanatory style is? It's really interesting. I wrote an article about it on my website if you want to look into it more. But basically, they can predict whether or not a salesperson is going to stay with their job for 6 months by having them do this explanatory style. It's very interesting. So, explanatory style, basically be positive, endure the negative. Bob the Builder, instead of having affirmations like, I know I can do this, I'm going to do it, ask yourself a question and say, can I sell this person, and answer that question. I want to end off with this quote. And again, I'll send you guys the slides, okay? As fitness professionals, we strengthen the weak. We fix the broken. We lift the depressed. We hold the key to empower a person, a group, a community. Our impact on the world is limited not by our knowledge of physiology, but rather by the number of people we can affect. I'm convinced that the only way to maximize our potential, thus impacting the lives of those we serve, is by embracing the sales process. For it is through sales that we empower. May each of us embrace the sales process so that together we can go forth and empower the world through fitness. Thank you.